Hi, my name is Janice Martel, and I am a miner's daughter. This is my dad, Jim Hobbs. On May 24th, 2017, after a long battle with Parkinson's, my dad died. 6 years before his death, I learned an awful truth of something that he had gone through in the mines that I didn't know about. He had to inhale finely ground aluminum dust known as McIntyre powder. The theory was that by inhaling this aluminum dust, these workers, it would prevent them from getting a lung disease called silicosis that was costing mining executives a lot of money to pay out in compensation costs. With very little scientific proof behind it and with a lot of unknowns as to what this would do to their health, these workers would have to sit in specially constructed chambers or in the mine dry, which is a room where they would change their clothes, and they would have to inhale this powder. I actually have a canister of it. This is finely ground aluminum dust in cans, and they would puncture these cans on either end and send compressed air through, and you were sitting in this room with this cloud of black dust. This is actually what the dust looks like inside. So it looks black like that. This is from an opened canister of the aluminum dust. And every shift before they went underground or in factories, they would have to breathe it in using like a tube, an inhaling tube from these big ball mills. Factories in the United States, in elsewhere in the world. And this was done every day. I think that my dad's Parkinson's might be related to having to inhale aluminum, which is a known neurotoxin to human health. And I started a campaign called the McIntyre Powder Project to try to find out answers about this aluminum dust program. It ran from about 1943 to 1980 in Canada, the United States, the Belgian Congo, Mexico, Western Australia, and there was a short trial of it in a tin mine in England. I have dedicated myself for the last 4 years trying to find answers about what this did to their health. I have documented mine workers who have died or are struggling with different health issues. I have 450 miners on a voluntary registry, and about 2/3 of them have lung issues or respiratory symptoms or problems, and about 1/3 of them have neurological disorders like ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's, different things like having difficulty with memory. And I'm fighting some Goliaths in this to try to find answers about what happened. And I think that there's a huge public interest in knowing how this was developed, how it went on for so long. And luckily for me, a couple of months ago, two lawyers offered me free legal services to try to find out some of those answers. Anthony and Jackie have been fantastic. They are offering their services to me for free because they see what I'm doing and they know that this is going to help a lot of workers who were exposed to this. There was 27,500 workers in Ontario, Canada alone, mine workers that were exposed to this. Based on archival records that I looked through, there's a minimum 42,000 workers worldwide who were exposed to this. I can't imagine going to work every day and sitting in a chamber, in a room, and have this stuff blown at you, inhaling it into your lungs, coughing and sputtering, blowing black out of your nose, not knowing what this would do to your health. And this was a condition of employment. They had no choice. It was a gas chamber. These lawyers have asked the Ontario Workplace Safety and Insurance Board, which is the workers' compensation system in Ontario, Canada. They're known as the WSIB. The lawyers asked for a Freedom of Information request to obtain documents as to how the WSIB developed this policy that they developed on aluminum, where they would automatically deny any WSIB claims for neurological disorders if those claims were based on occupational aluminum exposure. The WSIB has been around for well over 100 years, and in that 100-year history, they have never developed any other policy that automatically shut down somebody applying for benefits. And this went on. This has gone on basically since the aluminum dust program stopped. There was some studies that were done. They found that yes, this could be neurotoxic to human health. And then in the early 1990s, the WSIB developed this policy that shut down your chances of ever succeeding in a claim. And I think that there's a public interest in knowing how that was developed, why it was developed. So my lawyers asked for a substantial amount of documentation from the WSIB under the Freedom of Information Act. And I would have to pay for any kind of, even though the lawyers are providing their services for free, I am responsible for paying for the cost of any disbursements, which is basically if you have to photocopy anything, send out anything, ask for documents, the cost of those documents. Since we were asking for a substantial amount of information, I figured it would be maybe $1,000 maximum, and I was willing to pay that. I've changed my whole life around for this McIntyre Powder Project. You can go on my website, you can go on Facebook and see it's legitimate. If you look under the links section of my McIntyre Powder Project website, you will see there was a Fifth Estate documentary. It would be similar to something like 60 Minutes in the United States. They're very good investigative journalists. There's information there. There was a Toronto Star article. You can see the links to all of those articles and see what these miners and other workers have gone through. When I just found out a few days ago that the actual cost of this information that the WSIB wants to charge us is $7,967.95. I think that's a ridiculous amount. I am fighting a Goliath here, and I don't know how to fight them other than to ask for some support to pay for this. And that's what my GoFundMe request is for, is to help fight this. Anyone who knows me at all knows that I am fiercely independent and proud. It's really hard for me to ask for any help for this. Parkinson's is a horrible, unforgiving disease. My dad went through so many losses, so many indignities, and I could save him from none of them. I watched him lose his ability to smile, his ability to walk, his ability to speak clearly, to communicate with people. I watched him lose his dignity in many ways. His ability to eat independently, to go to the washroom independently. And none of these indignities I could do anything about. It's a very helpless feeling. And the only indignity that I could potentially save him from was the indignity of not being able to provide for his family, for his wife. We were all grown up by the time that he had Parkinson's, and he went to the mines to put us through school and to allow us to have a life. His father, when my dad was very young, in grade school, his father had an industrial accident and hurt his back and wasn't able to support the family. And my dad went to school and came home from school and ran the family farm. In the morning, he milked 26 cows. At night, he milked 26 cows. They did the haying. They did all of that stuff to support his family of origin. He was one of 11 kids. He was the oldest boy of 11 children. And he quit school at age 16 to be able to support his family of origin, his parents and his siblings. He went diamond drilling because that's the job that he could get at that time. And then I saw a picture of my dad, holding a fish that he had caught for his family, and he was about 20, and I looked at his sister, she looked to be about 4 years old. It was a big family. And I realized how dependent my Aunt Jenny was, and all of them were, on Dad to provide for them. And then he provided for his own family. He provided for his wife and children. And he was been a provider his whole life. He worked very hard. And when he couldn't work anymore because of his Parkinson's, there was a year my parents lived under the poverty line. They didn't have the money to support themselves. And when I tried to fight this with WSIB, I thought this is the one dignity that I can give back to him. And I haven't been able to do it so far, but I'm fighting and I will continue. And I guess I figured that if he could go through all of those indignities, I could swallow my pride and go through the indignity of asking for help to pay to fight this Goliath. I think our mining families, our workers who went through this are the least able to pay. They've paid already. They paid with their health. They paid with their life. So I am asking allies, if you're out there, if you believe in trying to fight the system, WSIB, they have all the power. They hold all the cards. I sold my house. I moved to continue to do this work. I'm putting my lifeblood into this. This is going to be my life to fight for these guys. So many of them don't have a voice. So many of them are dead already. And their families, their widows, they don't have the help that they need. If you can spare some money to put towards this, I will post on my McIntyre Powder Project Facebook page the documents to show that we have asked for this information, and the information from the WSIB saying that it's basically $8,000 if I want it. This is how they hold people down, and I need to fight this. So thank you for your consideration. If I raise more than the money that I'm asking for, I will put every penny of it towards this work and this fight and raising awareness of what was done and seeking justice. This was a gas chamber for these workers. It was a slow death, and they're dying still. Thank you so much for all of your help and support.